Immediately after that initial change was made, you can see that a warning sign shows up. If you hover over the warning, it says unsaved configuration changes. If you click on the warning, it will then navigate you to the config tab. Here you can see that startup-config is the default configuration file on the switch. You can create additional files to save multiple configurations on the switch if you want to, but in this example, we are going to save to the startup-config file. We will hit save, and we will make that change. And now you can see the warning sign disappears. So now we will navigate to the IP interfaces tab. Here you can see that the default VLAN on the switch is VLAN 1. By default, this is the IP address that you would manage the switch from. This is also where you can create a new VLAN interface to then be associated with a layer 2 VLAN later, which we will go over in the ports and VLAN section. The new VLAN interface becomes the layer 3 element of that VLAN. It gives you the ability to now route between VLANs through the switch itself. You can also manage the switch from the additional VLAN interfaces. So in order to create a new VLAN interface, we will hit the Add button. We're going to add VLAN 2, and we will give it an IP address. 192.168.2.201 will be the IP address of our VLAN 2 interface. And we can now use the VLAN interfaces to route VLANs through the switch itself. This is called inter-VLAN routing. And so we will save that setting, and we've created a second VLAN interface on the switch. So now we will navigate to the Time tab. Under the Time tab, you have a couple options for setting the switch time. You can sync the switch to your computer time, adjust the time zone settings, and adjust the daylight saving settings, or you can sync to an NTP server to ensure more precise and accurate timing. You can point to one NTP server, or you can configure several servers for backups. So once you enable the NTP server, we can now create the servers that we want to point to. In this case, we have one server, and we will save that setting. And now we are syncing to an NTP server on the network. Under the Firmware tab, to update the firmware, you would click on Update Firmware. You have two options here. You can use the HTTPS option and browse the file structure of your computer to find the config file you're looking for. In that case, you would select HTTPS, select Browse, find the file you're looking for, open, update firmware. Or you can use the TFTP option to point to your TFTP server to import the file. That way, you would just enter in the IP address of the TFTP server and enter in the file name that you would like to import, and then click Update Firmware. So now we will navigate to the Diagnostics tab. Under the Diagnostics tab, initially you will see the CPU load information on the switch. You can also run a ping test from the switch by entering in the IP address of the desired host that you want to ping. You enter in the IP address and then start transmitting ICMP packets, and we have a successful ping. Also, you can run a trace route from the switch to discover how many routed hops there are to your desired host device. You would just enter in the IP address of the host and then run the trace route. And you can see we have a successful trace route.